All right, so we've been taking a look at a lot of these GameStop refurbished systems for a little while now. Of course, we've taken a look 360, PS3, but I wanted to kind of shift over to a handheld system because we've been looking at handhelds away from just GameStop refurbished and everything, just in general, like the DS Lite, the PSP, even the 3DS, the regular one. But I noticed something interesting on GameStop's site. They have a premium refurbished, recharged new Nintendo 3DS XL that, if good, might actually be the best option to get if you want like a full like 3DS XL or just a 2DS XL, because this is actually a bit cheaper while still maintaining all of like the 3D functionality from the 3DS line. But it's $20 cheaper than the 2DS XL. So we're going to take a look at this today, open it up, make sure everything's good in there, and honestly, we might have like the best handheld you can buy at the price from like a retail store. All right, so first let's go ahead and open this guy up. Now they do have this as the new Nintendo 3DS XL Premium Refurbished Recharged. The reason I say this might be like the best value you can get is because it does have an AC adapter, whereas when the 3DS XL, the new 3DS XL came out, they didn't include a charger, which is weird to a lot of us. If you really thought about it, they were selling you a system that didn't have what was a proprietary charger, right? It's Nintendo's own charger. It's not like it's like a USB Type-C or a micro USB or something. It was their charger, but they didn't provide it. This one has the AC adapter, has the 4GB micro SD card. Most likely, GameStop took it in, kind of threw all these things in a box and did something to refurbish this. That's what we're gonna find out here today. So we open it up. They kind of did this thing. I've seen this done with laptops, for example, where they use basically like a plastic, like a plastic wrap, and then they seize it to like a piece of cardboard so it doesn't go flying around. A good way to do that. Now let me go ahead and open this guy up and take a look. Other than that, we just have, it's empty inside, and we just have our AC adapter. And it is, I don't think this is an actual Nintendo. Oh no, it is. Okay, cool. So it is an actual Nintendo one. This isn't like a third-party one that they throw in there. So yeah, so far so good. Nice little rubber band, I guess, to hold it on, so you get a rubber band out of it too. But yeah, Nintendo one looks fine on this end. This guy snaps open. So yeah, so far so good. We got an AC adapter, which is more than we can technically say from Nintendo when you buy one of these new. So there's our system, the new 3DS XL. This entire kit was $130, so $130, which again, $20 less than the 2DS XL, and I believe these are either $190 or $200 new, depending on where you find them, at like a Walmart or a GameStop or a Best Buy or something, so we're significantly cheaper actually than what a new one was going for. Now, looking around, I do see some chipping on the edge here, on kind of the corner, right? Same here, which is going to be, again, kind of your mileage may vary here, right? Case by case basis, depending on how it was taken care of, when it was traded in, and kind of what you get out of, I guess, the refurbished / used lottery. This is refurbished again, not used. So again, it's probably going to be a bit different if you had a used one. It has a little piece of, I guess, like wax paper type thing in the middle, just to kind of hold up the screens. The screens look surprisingly good. So this screen up here is not scratched from what I can tell. It actually looks pretty new. The bottom one looks good as well. Now, because it's refurbished, a number of things could have happened here. Let's see if it actually powers on while we're just looking at it. A number of things could have happened. The top screen could have been bad. The bottom screen could have been bad. The circle pad could have been messed up. The battery, the charge port. The charge port is what I was thinking of. When I picked it up, I was like, oh, maybe there's a charge port. Okay, so we have pictures on both. Doesn't look bad. Looks good. Touchscreen working fine. Yeah, we'll turn that up, sure. Yep, we got to go through this little setup process here. It's going to do that thing where it activates the 3D and blows your mind, of course. So it just did that, and now I'm cross-eyed, I guess, from it. So let me go ahead and go through this real quick. And okay, yeah, it's fine. So let's go ahead and turn it back off, and I can open up and show you guys some cool things about this system, because this system is probably one of the best systems and it was actually released for repairability, because it is extremely modular. So let's go ahead and check this out. So they also have like a red stylus here. I guess it kind of matches. I don't know if, I guess that's not the same color that it would normally come with. But they gave one that has like a hook, and that's the idea of that, of course, is to help you kind of open it up. because strangely enough, when Nintendo released this, you actually have to take the backing off to change out your SD card, which was super weird. I don't know why they did it. I think the idea was that you could put this guy kind of in here if you don't have like a fingernail to put in there, and it's supposed to help you pop it out. I don't know why they did that, why they made it so that there was no door on the outside to actually get to when it comes to changing out your SD card, but this was, I guess, just the decision they made in the factory was to kind of hide your SD card behind this plastic door, whereas before it had like a door on the side, a flap that would pop open. The battery's easy to get to too, which is awesome. Because if the battery is like an iPhone, for example, is one of the worst examples of getting to a battery. Even the sealed, like, what are they, like Samsung phones are really bad too. So our SD card is right here, actually. And what kind of SD card is this? This is oh, okay, so it's a SanDisk. You know what? That is, that's pretty good. I'm okay with that. SanDisk, 4 GB, and a charge cable and everything. The biggest thing is the charge cord, though, obviously, because, well, the fact that they didn't give you a system that you'd buy at the store and then it would die and you didn't have, you know, the equipped charger to charge it up was just weird to me. So we got screws all around the outside here. We have two rubber stoppers at the top. We have to pop up, then we get the back off. Okay, so all our screws off over here. They're all the same size, so as long as you pile them together, if you have to open this up for whatever reason, just like label them as like back screws. Very easy to strip as well, so you want something that's fairly small that won't tear it up real bad. So keep that in mind as well. It is fairly easy to strip those and potentially ruin your 3DS at that point, because it's very hard to fix a strip screw that is like deep in here. So the back will come right off. You have some cables at the top that plug in. Those are for your bumpers. So these are just plugins. These can also be replaced, actually, as we kind of start talking about how modular the system is. These are all replaceable and everything, which is good. So there were times where the bumpers would start going bad on you. I've seen it several times, but we'll put that to the side there. And this is kind of where we start getting into the system itself and how you can pretty much fix most things without having to really, I mean, like really desolder or get crazy with anything. Let me kind of look around to see if they changed anything obvious, because I'm not seeing anything that like they would have changed at the refurbishment center. I don't see anything like I would have normally looked for, like the charge port here, because the charge port was an issue in like the 3DS. However, when they went to this new 3DS XL, they actually anchored down the charge port a bit better, where it is actually soldered a bit better to the board underneath of here, which is great. So they have an extra solder point on either side for that. But like I'm looking around, it looks like nothing in here has really been touched, like even a little bit. Like nothing's left, no screws are out of place, nothing's even like slightly missing or looks like it's been unclipped at all. It looks just overall pretty good. So like check this out. The first thing you'll see is the SD card slot is its own piece. So let's say you have like a younger sibling or someone jams something in here, it's stuck, you can't get it out, or you do eventually get it out and this thing is just damaged and you're like, great, now I can never use this thing again. Actually, once you get the back off, this is the first thing that comes up, and these are not expensive, these SD card slots. You can buy them on eBay, you just pop it out, you pop this little clip up, and then you pop it in, and boom, your SD card slot is fixed. So that's great, because a lot of times SD card slots are soldered to a board or something, and it's a real pain. But nope, that one is pretty straightforward. The biggest thing about this, though, that I really like, the actual game card slot where you put a game is modular, and that is the biggest thing. We're actually going to start unscrewing some stuff here, but this has always been something that I've known to be soldered to the main board. It would at times act as a heatsink, for example, and that was a real problem because I would see stuff come in, things would be jammed in here. A game's card going in backwards was like the biggest issue. It'd get jammed in there backwards, and then you were in trouble because this whole thing had to be desoldered. I mean, look at all these points here that have to be desoldered, and you got to put a new one on without damaging the board, any components around it. It was a real nightmare. And the fact that this module is pretty cool. So let's actually start taking this guy all apart here. Similar to all the other 3DSs and 3DS XLs and everything, the circle pad is also modular, so that's another very easy part to remove and replace, as it's, you see here, like one of the first things that comes right up that you can get to once the back comes off. Has a little ring here as well. Do you want to make sure you grab? That just kind of keeps dirt out of the system and keeps everything on track there. But you can see as we get into here, like this part here with the game card slot that tends to get damaged a lot is pretty much already almost out. I unplugged it here, and now I just undo some of these screws, and it's actually going to come completely off. So you can see after that, And that's the entire slot there for our game card. And you can buy one of these online if you mess yours up, and you can replace it without any issue. It actually just slides right under there. And then you just screw it back in, plug it in. This guy has to plug in here. That's actually our D-pad, which is also modular. So your D-pad right here can be unscrewed, removed, cleaned, or also completely replaced if one of your buttons just stops functioning for whatever reason. That can also be changed out, which is actually pretty cool as well. This side here is your power button. This right here is your power button. And it also is your circle pad. It's up here, it plugs in. So a little nub that you have. But all of your buttons, your A, B, X, Y, start, select, all that is on this board here and can also be replaced along with the power button. Whereas again, before, we'd have to do some weird things to things like the DS Lite to get that working. I almost look at this and then kind of think a bit about how like the Switch is at this point, because it's also very modular. So like I look at this and I'm like, man, they really got it started here where everything was like its own board technically and its own piece that could be changed out. And they kind of carried it over as they were developing the Switch. I think the part that's probably the most intimidating to a lot of people are the amount of ribbon cables everywhere. And yeah, that is kind of an annoyance for even like myself who's dealt with so many of these. But if you kind of just take it very, very slowly and kind of take your time, relax as you go through, they'll all come off within reason and it won't be too bad. It's more annoying trying to get the board to fit back in and make sure all the cables are like free so nothing's underneath. Because the worst is when you get everything together and it's all sitting down, it's all screwed in, and you realize, oh wait, one of these ribbons is actually pinched underneath the board and I gotta take the whole thing back out. That is the annoying part. So you can see our main board is actually really small. Like this is the entirety of that new 3DS XL and its motherboard with everything on it. There's really not a lot going on here if you sit down and look at it. It's a bit bigger than like a cell phone motherboard, but not really by much. And you might be wondering, well, where's the CPU, GPU, and everything? It's actually underneath these metal guards here, which do come up. They're usually just clipped in, and you can, I'm not even kidding, like just kind of pop them off. It's not too hard to do. So actually, let me go ahead and do that now. So there we go. We got some of our chips exposed there. So we have our CPU right here. And then on this side, I know we have our, there's actually 4 gigabytes of eMMC memory. We have our wireless chip. We have fast access memory here for the CPU to grab. And just overall, it's a very small design that I just think they worked to just make cooler. Because before, remember I showed you the other setups before that we had where we were actually using like the entire game card on top of these chips and it was actually cooling it. They actually just made it so it all worked much better like this. They were able to shrink the board from even the DS Lite. The 3DS XL is much better. Like the 3DS XL board is huge compared to this. So they were able to shrink it very, very well and then also make it more powerful. Now the specs on this guy is 804 megahertz ARM11 quad-core processor. We have, of course, our CPU here. Next to that, as I was just referring to, 256 megabytes of FC RAM. And then we also have eMMC memory over here. Now, they also have 10 megabytes of VRAM that is equipped as well. And if you remember, there are some games that will only work with a new 2DS XL or a new 3DS XL. Think of something like Minecraft, for example, that's released kind of recently. And then we've also had Xenoblade. So they did at least take advantage of it somewhat, but probably not to the degree that they could have overall with more games. I think it just came later on in the life cycle and they didn't have, I guess, just as many studios working on those kind of things, or third parties weren't willing to take that chance, again, outside of like something like a Minecraft, for example. While working with the 3DS, I noticed that the top stickers had been kind of messed with. Generally, that means that there was some attempt to either replace the top screen, maybe a camera cable, the top ribbon cable, the volume rocker. There are a lot of things in that top compartment, and usually when you start poking at those stickers, you had to have taken it apart with the screws underneath. So fortunately, there's only about 4 screws that hold us back from taking a look for ourselves. Now, a quick look at the top shows why no one likes to take these things apart and replace the top screen or the camera or the 3D slider. No one really enjoys doing that, and having to do that was one of the most annoying repairs ever. But it looks like there was some work done up here as are not glued down to the screen anymore, such as this camera cable.
However, everything seems to be in the correct place. The screws are all in right as well. And overall, it looks like the refurbishment center that worked on this for GameStop did a great job overall with this 3DS XL. And I'm pretty happy with that, considering some of the nightmares and some of the crazy scenarios that I've seen come out of these type of systems. This is really good. So hats off to GameStop on this one.
And that's going to do it for our look at the new 3DS XL Premium Refurbished Recharge from GameStop. There's really nothing wrong with it at all. It's good. But honestly, for $130, the fact that it comes with an AC adapter, and I believe that we did, of course, have a 4GB card or something with the original when it first came out, and then the new one. This is still a pretty good value at $130 for a premium recharge with the AC adapter. There's really not much to complain about here because most of these, to be honest, didn't have to deal with things like the GPU malfunctioning. Generally, it's a broken screen or broken charge port. So if you're comfortable enough getting one of these instead of the $190 to $200 brand new one and you want to save some money, it's actually not a bad pickup. So good job to GameStop. And honestly, looking into it, this is probably one of the safest systems you can buy just because most of the stuff is modular, and as long as the person working on it is competent enough, it shouldn't be that big of a deal because it's easy enough to get a new part and change it out. In fact, you could probably change it out as well if you have something like a busted game card slot or a busted SD card slot. The screen, specifically the top one, might be a bit dicey, but still, it's at least easy enough to change out some of the other parts. Thanks guys for watching. Let me know what you think about the new 3DS XL down below. Do you have one? Have you gotten one recently, or what do you think about it if you had to fix it? Make sure you guys like the video if you liked it, dislike it if not. I'll see you guys in the next video.